welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the globe as the Money Lady for the last 40 years. And it always gives me great joy and pleasure to have you watch the show and to glean information that can help you and your family members in these really, really difficult and challenging times. It is fair for me to say that in the entire history of my 40 plus years in the financial industry, from mergers and acquisitions all the way to just helping people trying to get a foothold in their life, never have I seen anything. And I talked to my dad, who's 95, soon to be in July, and he says he's never seen anything like this. So I know we've got to be in times that are just unspeakable. And for those of you that are younger, be glad you don't have a point of reference, that you really think it's all good and you're woke and all that. Oh my gosh, you are not woke. There's some stuff that the American people are being challenged with that defy the imagination. And certainly where I'm coming from in the field of practice that I have been involved in so long. I am just beside myself in terms of advice. I will tell all of you this, and that is more to come. Yeah, more to come. I said that 3 years ago. If you will go back and look at some of my old YouTube shows that we upload after, we've done this for years. But I started talking about 3 years ago about inflation. And the reason I started talking about inflation was because nobody knew what it was. Unless you're in the field, of economics and finance, and even we didn't talk about it that back then because inflation was just like the big bad bully on the basketball court. And I do mean just that. They got the ball and they kept it and they ran with it and just bludgeoned you. That was what I thought of inflation, just unspeakable. And the last coherent experience that I had with inflation was through economic history when Germany, this is prior to World War II, and it was after World War I, which they lost, but bread was 25 cents in the morning, and by that evening it was $5. That's US dollars, not German Deutschmarks. And the people were devastated because they watched their purchasing power go to nothing, zero. And they began doing things that, ironically, Americans are starting to do. So it made me nervous to see that there are ways to crush the value of the dollar that have nothing to do with international transactions, but have everything to do with understanding economic laws, understanding impact, and looking at inflation. So on today's show, I'm going to talk to you about two principles that you are going to deal with if you're not already. I think most people are real aware of inflation. When it showed up, they didn't like it because it was like, I can't make it. And I'm like, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until tariffs kick in. And lo and behold, voila, tariffs. And of course the media is talking about tariffs and blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking about this stuff as it affects you. So let's start with the first one. And that is inflation. And we've been dealing with inflation now for 2 solid, going on 3 years. And here is the bottom line. Housing is an impossibility now. Renting an apartment is mind-numbing. You want to see your money go nowhere Watch what it does when rent is adjusted for today. I know in my community, which used to have one of the most affordable platforms for rent, you could get a nice one bedroom for about maybe $600. Today, that one bedroom will cost you $1,300. Who is got $1,300? You can say, well, if we work real hard, we'll do it. To go from $600 to $1,300 on the same income is called inflation. Your money has to be spent because you have to have a place to live, but how that gets spent and how affordable it is devastating to American families. It's not racial, it's money. And you can say, well, landlords, and I will say to you that landlords are not under any kind of obligation to be fair. This is capitalism, which is an economic form of distribution of wealth that rewards the wealthy, not the poor, and not the middle class, soon to be poor, and not the fake it till you make it, who's going to fake it and fail. That's not what's happening. So you're looking at the most vicious form of inflation, which is your rents and even your mortgages, because to buy a house today, given interest rates, and also given the lack of materials to build and the lack of workers to build, people are finding that they cannot get a house right now. And that's why many young people are living in the basement with their parents, they and their wives and children. I'm telling you the truth. And I know parents, and I'm praying for myself because I got 3, but they're all doing good for right now. But many of you are going to find that your basements and your homes are going to be outposts for your children and their children. So prepare yourself mentally, because better they're with you trying to save up money than out here trying to scrape. And yeah, it does seem unfair, and it is unfair because you raised them to move on, but you didn't raise them to deal with this. So inflation will show its ugly head first with your rents, also with acquisition of homes if you want to buy a home. Many young people will not be able to afford a home. Why? Because their wages are not high enough to allow them to acquire a home, particularly in your major markets. I mean, it's not uncommon in Florida and other major markets for 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes running $750,000, $450 to $750. The numbers don't match. Now, the alternative to it is there are home buyer programs that are funded by grants, but that is now shifting as the government begins to quash grants. Can't apply for a grant because it's not available, because it's been shut down. So what are young people to do today? I don't know, because I still believe in home ownership. But maybe the home needs to look a little different. Maybe instead of a Cape Cod or a larger home, maybe be innovative. And when I say innovative, maybe a tiny house, maybe a container house, maybe buying land and putting on the land an RV that has wheels to take you other places. Now, mind you, the gas price is horrible on an RV, but it is portable, and you can use the land to grow food and other things. It's the ability to be creative during bizarre times. This is bizarre. For me as a advisor to tell you, you can get a 5-acre lot for 10 grand, get it. Tell your parents to help you, but get it. And then look at how you want to use it. And look at your neighbors and church friends and see if they can help you to build something that's durable. There's all kinds of resources out here. But that's inflation. Okay? Land costs have even gone up. But when you can't afford your rent because your wages have not gone up, and now that they're letting go and laying off many, many young people, that's hard. If you got a family, you got children, that's hard. That's hard on the family in its entirety. But let's look at what else inflation has done. Well, you can go to the grocery store yourself, and every week it's a different reality. Every week it's a different story at the grocery store. Okay? Now, you can say whatever you want, but I'm going to say to you that this is also the environment for hoarding. And hoarding means buying food in anticipation of higher prices on down the road. And you would be correct on some things and not correct on others. The some things you would be correct on is produce and food that will be sensitive to tariffs. Now, what the heck is a tariff? I've never heard of such a thing. A tariff is an assessment by your government. It's a tax, depending upon what has been ordered by the executive office. And it can be used powerfully if the timing is right, because it does have the effect of stopping people from spending on that item. Now, mind you, a tariff is a tax that you, the consumer, ultimately pay the government. You're like, you're kidding me. My federal taxes aren't enough. No, not when they're trying to make political moves. The ability to manipulate markets and money is powerful. So, say for example, this is a classic. Mexico is the home of the fabulously delicious Mexican avocado. The avocado was in great disrepute years ago. People, other than guacamole, people didn't even eat avocados. But now that's changed. Avocados have been promoted. The health benefits are very clear. Everybody eats avocados. But since they come from Mexico, you're subjected to a tax of 20%, I think. So that avocado that cost you $1 will wind up costing you $1.20 or more, because the grocer has to pass that on to you. How well do you want an avocado from Mexico? They do grow avocados in Florida. They're not as fat and juicy, but you don't have the tax. Now, the other thing is that these are perishables, which means that even if the distributor who's bringing in these avocados paid the tax to our government for getting these avocados, to bring them to you where you are going to pay a higher price, in the end, is that going to work out? Because avocados are perishable, meaning they got to move. When you pluck an avocado, you got to be ready to rock and roll. That avocado has to be on a shelf, a grocer's shelf. It's got to be priced to move, or else they're going to be stuck with a lot of bad avocados. So, the grocer's going to try to max out as much as he can. And then he will mark the avocados down because their shelf life is getting close. And that may be the time for you to buy them. But remember, they are perishable. So unless you're planning on making a ton of guacamole, you're going to be in a pinch as well. So that's one example. Another example I've seen recently is strawberries. Strawberries are a product of Peru. They're also a product of California and other places, but given this time of the year, you're going to see a quantity of strawberries coming in from Peru. Same problem, tariffs. So you're going to see groceries trying to push strawberries out at a markdown price because they're going to go down because they're perishable. Now, I don't know how many strawberries you can eat, but I would say to you to take advantage when you see them marking down 2 for $5, 2 for $4, buy one, get one free, get them. But recognize the reason they're marking them down is because they're perishable. And it can be on you to fix that. I don't know how you can strawberries. I think you can freeze them. Let me hear from some gardeners out here. But I don't think you can freeze avocados. I could be wrong. And you will see other items that are tariff driven, coming into the marketplace. There have been some pushback on American cars using parts. I still think they may back off, but they're going to come back hard. Because Americans buy cars, and they're going to spend the money, and they'll finance it in. So the car price goes up a couple of $100s. Well, you finance it into the car's lease payments or its purchase payments, and you just get the car. Now that's going to work in the short term. It's not going to work in the long term, because thanks to the power of the internet, people know exactly what that car cost. And it's just like what's happening in China, where China leads the world in electric cars that are dirt cheap. People are zooming all over with these Chinese electric cars. I think BVD, can't remember. But here's what you do need to remember. You can't afford them over here, because by the time they tack on that tariff, the car is going to cost you several $1,000s more than it should. And there you are. Works in the short term, but I'm not so sure it's going to work in the long term. I don't know if people are so desperate for an electric car that they're willing to pay that kind of a premium to our government. Not to the other. This is a tax by our government to crush your demand for that product from that country. Ladies, let's talk about a real popular clothing line. 2 of them, Temu and Shein. Dirt cheap clothes, you can wash them and throw them out. And they used to be able to get through under an $800 rule, where if they mailed your items and it was under $800, they would not have to pay additional tax. But that's all going to change. And that's why you're seeing a lot of Temu warehouse clearance, because they're trying to get rid of that product before dealing with new prices and new product. And since they're both controlled by the Chinese government, okay, they'll tack the tax on your distributor, because they're not manufactured over here, they're manufactured in China. But your distributor will pay the tax and pass it on to you. Now for American women, and I happen to be one, if you want a dress and its price changes from $5 to $7, bing, 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 $7 sold. I don't think tariffs are going to have any impact on those types of items. That's my own humble appearance. Women are always going to buy what they want. Ask their husbands. Okay, whether she sneaks it in from Saks or whether she just straight out buys it at Walmart. If that's what she wants, that's what she's going to get. And he'd be a fool to challenge it. So forget that as far as being effective with a tariff. But on other items such as electronics, such as cell phones, those kind of things, well, that might have an impact, somewhat, okay? But in the aggregate, the goal is to slow down the importation of these goods and services. Well, no, goods, not services. And the prayer is, by the current administration, that this will have an impact on the supply coming into the U.S. And I don't mean to be a doomsayer, but gentlemen, you all really misread this. We're in different times, okay? We are in different times. What can easily be done today with internet is that you can have a distribution platform in another country that doesn't have a tariff and have your goods going through that country to the U.S. to you. And there is no tax in that situation. Now you can say that's highly immoral. Well, I'm going to tell you what's highly immoral to me is to try to penalize other people for stuff you guys can't work out politically. China did not rise to become the greatest retailer on earth by accident. China became a great retailer by, number one, not allowing its own citizenry to use credit cards. Did you know that? Whatever they buy, they got to buy out of their savings account or what they've accumulated. That's significant. The other thing is that the biggest buyers for Chinese goods right now are probably going to be their own people, because they're certainly not poor people. I mean, I looked at Shenzhen where I lived, and I don't even recognize the city. It's fast, 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 fast. And they're not dealing with tariffs. They don't care. They buy what they want. We're the ones that are going to suffer. Now, the argument has been, by making them pay, we're helping our own manufacturers to produce. But here's my challenge. Are you going to produce at the same price that they're producing? Because if you're not, people are not going to buy from you. And I know, buy American. I understand. But we're in different times, and economic decision making is always going to be predicated on how much money you keep in your pocket at the end of the day. Sheesh, I don't care who's president or not. If I want something, and it depends upon whether it's affordable and whether I am an ongoing buyer. Okay, now Temu had priced its stuff so low, along with Shine, that women could donate stuff to charity and not blink. They did. In fact, they are now being fingered as the reason Forever 21 had to file bankruptcy. And probably Kohl's as well, because it's hard to argue with $2 for a dress. Okay, and that same dress or a close copy is selling for $49. No, people are not going to go with that. I just don't see it happening. They could, but I don't see it happening. So what's the impact on the American economy? I think it's going to be extremely challenging. And despite all the soothsayers that are saying, oh, we'll get through this, it's going to be fine, I really don't think so. I really don't think so, but I do think that people are going to begin to go back to the older form of economic history, which is everybody bartered everything. I need 2 of your tomatoes, you take 2 of my lettuce. We're good. We spent fertilizer money and seeds. We're good. And I think people are going to be bartering more and more like that. They're going to be bartering their services. They're going to be bartering their time. They are not paying. Did I make myself clear? They're not paying. Period. And if they have money tight, they'll deal with their families first. They'll help their son's fledgling business first. They'll buy locally first. They'll buy from people that they know first before they get into a situation where they're buying goods and services with markups and relationships that don't exist. That's what I see happening. And as we continue to eliminate more and more and more people as consumers, because when you fire people from jobs, and after they're run on unemployment and they really are out of work, what have you just done to yourself? Number one, you've eliminated the tax mandate of that person from that job. They're not sending any revenues to the Internal Revenue Service. Now, the data already says revenues are down, which is people are not sending money into the Internal Revenue Service other than government-mandated paychecks, but they're not sending any money in. Why? Because they can't afford it. They're going to keep their money, and they're going to do things that are going to be highly annoying to the wealthy class. They're going to start putting money underneath trees in boxes, the way their parents did, grandparents, because money is still king. And they're willing to do that for the short-term benefits. I mean, because truthfully, this cannot go on forever. The stock market, which again propels the buying activity of a large segment of this country, including pension funds, investment funds, your 401ks, your 403bs, your SEP plans. All those things are stock market driven, and you're getting ready to feel it right where you don't want to feel it. It's a part of your retirement assets. So you're like, what the heck? How can I stop it? And I'm like, the only way you can stop that move is to order your money to be in cash, money market. You don't have enough, I don't think, to play stop losses, maybe. But how's that positive for the economy? How's that positive for us when we're losing money? Okay? And what needs to be done to change it? And that's the million-dollar question. How do we get respect in the global marketplace by tearing down somebody else's stuff? I mean, is the bully game over? Are people tired of John Wayne's caricature running around all over the place? Shoot 'em up, shoot 'em up. Are people desiring a quiet and peaceful way of life? Do we long to go back to the days when things were so simple, where you didn't have to fight everything and everybody? I mean, that's real right now. Are you willing to do that? Or are you willing to fight? I'm going to fight. They're going to know I'm somebody. Nobody cares. We're whacking Canada? Canada? What's wrong with them? Well, you don't understand. They stuffed us with fentanyl and blah, 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 blah. And they were excuse me, are you talking about Canada? You're talking about those nice people? You're not talking about the drug dealers in our country, right? You're talking about them. Leave them alone before they bankrupt Kentucky. Stop buying bourbon. And Kentucky is a bourbon state. I know our governor is not happy about that. There's no way he could be happy because he didn't ask for this. a tariff on our neighbor. Then we're going to put a tariff on Mexico and kill them. Okay, really? What have they done? I mean, really, what have they done? And I think the American people need to look at this. And like I explained in an earlier video, you call your congressman and you tell him or her, I do not like this, and stop it. Who signed off on this? Who did this and why? Why is this such a problem? And that's their rightful role, so you need to ask them and want answers, okay, or a group of you. I'm advocating it because they work for us. We put them in office. We pay all their health care benefits, unbelievable. We pay their salaries, unbelievable. Their airfare back and forth, unbelievable. Yeah, and we should have accountability. And that is not unbelievable, that is American. That's very democratic. So, we're looking at tariffs to slow down our purchasing activity and to make it more expensive to the American consumer who's already paying money in for taxes to pay our debt and our bills. So now we're going to get whacked again with tariffs, okay? Because they're going to be passed on to us. That's not fair, and that's not right. And that's what happens when you go into situations and you do not listen to advisors or people that understand what this looks like. The United States of America can scarcely, at this point in history, play the big bad Hulk picture. We can't do it. And I don't think we even have the will to do it. I mean, I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, I want to go to sleep. Watch the news, go to sleep, wash dishes. I don't want to hear constant battling over things that I didn't have anything to do with. Okay? Congress did not pass tariffs. The executive office did. But yet they line up in agreement, and that's where we come in, because you represent us. You don't represent anybody but us. And us ain't happy, okay? Because you're messing with everything. Everything that makes our life simple is now on the block. And we don't like it at all. We think it's crap, for real. And we are scared because truly, I don't know about you, but every day now, I turn on my iPhone and I go to Smart News, or I go to CNN, or I go to BBC, or I go to the South China newspaper. I go to find out what has happened while I slumbered. And every day, it's something new and different. And as I told my children, I am old. I do not like change. And I certainly don't like things I have not in any way delegated or said anything about. How did this happen? What happened? Stop it. I come from that generation. We're the Pepsi generation. Yeah, they're not doing good either. But again, we're talking about inflation. Are housing prices coming down? No. Are rents coming down? Nope. So what has to change? Well, you're either going to have a situation where we get more money, or our situation will move into crisis, which is already there. But it's getting ready to really look like crisis, okay? So that's where we are with that. How are we with food? Well, on U.S. grown food, you will do infinitely better than imported food. I'm still going to challenge and I'm still going to push buying at your local farmer markets, doing that Saturday drop off. And I'm not talking about the fancy ones. If you need eggs, get them. The farmer's glad to get rid of them. Why? Because the chicken is going to lay eggs every day, every single day. And the eggs are probably better than what you're going to buy in a grocery store when you don't know how long that egg has been sitting there, nor what the chicken was fed or anything else. And begin to look at being a part of groups, including Facebook, gardening groups. Be resourceful and innovative. Please. You can't eat tulips, but you sure can eat cucumbers, which are easy to grow. They'll grow in a pot in your house, and you can eat them. And nobody's going to care because you're doing what is necessary for you. Does that make any sense? So put your time into learning things that will help you and your family. Another skill maybe. Maybe going to college for an additional learning about Chat GPT and tech stuff and finding out if you can get any help. Now, mind you, a lot of things have changed in terms of college financing, including the Pell Grant, which is really a wonderful grant. It doesn't exist anymore. They crushed that. But take the time to get the learning and the information so that you can proceed on. Now, can I speak openly about Ukraine? We want Ukraine because we need the minerals. We've alienated everybody else that has minerals. They can't go to Africa for anything. He just booted out the ambassador to South Africa. And I'm like, they're like, isn't that where the gold comes from? The diamonds? Yes. We don't have any over here. Okay. You can't dig up a hole and find a bunch of gold or diamonds. And what about bauxite and some of these others? Well, when you have made your friends enemies, I don't know. Maybe he thinks he'll recover on the Gaza when he makes it a luxury seaside resort for the filthy rich. I'm sorry, did I call you filthy? I won't call you filthy. I'll just call you rich. Okay? It's okay. So, where do we go? Well, we better go into our quiet place. We better look at what we need to do to work through this. Okay? If you're self-employed, shore up your assets and resources through lines of credit. Look to do business close, not far. Operate in a premise that you will make less money, but you're not spending as much money. So it has its rewards as we look at things move along. I'm just merely suggesting to you, as my viewers, that tariffs and inflation are going to make you grow hair on your back. They are not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. I don't care what the Fed report says. Inflation is tough to get rid of. And Mr. Powell, you know that. You're an economist. We all learn the same stuff. And that is, don't stick your toe in that hot water. Work out another way where people can do well. Because anytime a person goes to spend money to buy groceries and runs out of money before the grocery, that's going to be a problem. Anytime people cannot afford gas, and gas has been better, but gas is not $1.99. Right, I would like to see that, okay, because at the price we're paying now, it's back up there. And I don't see any answer. And can all of you politicians, all you elected officials, all you government people that have been so maligned for doing your job. That's right, a job description, you do your job and you're squashed anyway. That's not fair, and I do believe that's going to be resolved. I think the American people are going to say, time out, we've had enough. We didn't deal with the king in England. We're not going to deal with this. We're Americans. We do things different. We find answers. We don't hurt people. Period. That's what I learned from my overseas travel. Americans are boisterous. We're all kinds of stuff. But we don't hurt people. And we don't hurt ourselves. And if it's starting to look like that, then we have to make those changes. And I believe we will. It's going to be tough. It's going to be fitful. There's going to be all kinds of antisocial behavior. I just pull my shades down and go to bed. I'm a senior, remember? I go to bed. And so we can look at it like that. I don't point fingers at anybody right now because I know everybody, if they're living here, are going through some things that are not good. But I do encourage you to consider resurrecting a lot of those skill sets that your grandma and granddad had, cooking cakes, pies, selling things, making money. Don't depend upon employers to feed you 100%. Look at other resources. Seniors, same thing. Heating costs are going to go up. Nobody's going to take care of you. I was on radio on a major talk station. And the guy was talking about how the federal government was responsible for the mess in housing. And they could have done this. I told him, excuse me, how is the federal government responsible for you not buying a house? Well, they could have made prices lower. So you're asking the government to get involved in private sector initiatives like interest rates, like inventory, like, all these big companies are buying these houses. Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed. Why shouldn't they be allowed? Because it hurts the family. That's a question for your congressman. It's not a question for me because I have no power to put anything in legislative form that will do that. Period. And I doubt if any congressperson is going to do it either. Because at the end of the day, this is America. This is a country founded on very specific constitutional principles. This is the land of the free, whether you feel it or not, and the home of the brave, and you just better be brave to play this one. You better be humble, because you may find that somebody else is braver than you are, and you may need them. And they don't want to hear all your opinions and lambasting. Okay, for those of you that are still operating under presumption that it can't happen to me, oh my goodness, you're going to be an interesting study in a year. Not only can it happen to you, but unless you plan purposefully and privately, this is not a conversation for your whole community and the church and the synagogue or anywhere. This is not for them. This is for you and your family. You sit down and work out a strategy. You work out a plan, starting with listening to programs like mine that will open up your understanding of how things work so that you will not make bad moves and do bad things. Okay? Until you're broke and penniless, for some of us, the truth will not hit you. You think you can just go on and do I don't feel like this, I don't feel like that. Well, sometimes you have to feel like things that are not convenient. That's the truth. Sometimes you have to do things that may not be appealing. okay, because it's a sign of maturity and wisdom. And God knows I'm not a know-it-all, but I didn't get my age being stupid and raising children and dealing with family issues and business issues and all kinds of issues. That's called life. Sickness, and I don't even want to talk about that on this show, about the healthcare industry and how you better learn how to use herbs and everything else to keep yourself alive. Because believe me, very few people are challenged today to keep you alive. Particularly if you have money, your kids are waiting. Like, man, I can't wait. Oh, you don't want to think about that. Oh, I love the grands. The grands are not your children. The grands are your children's children. And believe me when I say to you, that's another Power of Money show about healthcare and about your kids and about making sure that you have necessary provisions in case you cannot afford a nursing home. Oh, you think that's laughable? You don't think that can happen to you? You can have a stroke right now and everything will change. Or you can be in a car accident. Or you can take a fall. Or you can get pneumonia. Or, God forbid, COVID. It has not gone anywhere. Or you can get the flu. Or you can lose your ability to do certain bodily functions, like urinate, and find yourself getting kidney dialysis because your kidneys are gone, because you smoked cigarettes, because you drank high fructose drinks that nobody told you when you were younger could kill you. This is where we are today. So I advise all my viewers and listeners, and listen well. Be open for the change. Understand what tariffs will cause. You don't have to participate, but it's going to be very hard. If you're going to get a car, a used one is infinitely better than a new one. Don't spend money that you don't have to spend. And put your stomach on a fast. Did I say it? Put your stomach on a fast. It consumes way too much junk. And then in an hour, it's gone. And it's cost you money. Oh, but it's such a joy, I'm sure. Watch television and watch cartoons and watch Looney Tunes. That's free. You don't have to pay for that. And what a joy that is. So I've given you some thoughts. They're not lightweight thoughts. They're not. I haven't even talked about your money. I haven't. I could. I'll just say keep it liquid. And don't believe anybody that says otherwise. Because we're in uncharted water. We don't know what we got coming. And we really don't know what we got going. But we do know that it doesn't feel right. And that should be your signal to tighten up. Tighten up. If you're going to spend money, let it be for your business purposes, so at least you can write it off on your taxes. Above and beyond that, if it's not budgeted, it's not worth it. Okay? If you want to go to the movie, get one of the TV things, Netflix or Disney or Hulu. There are a billion of them. Don't pay much. Don't pay much unless you have stock in those companies. And I doubt if you do. Don't pay much. And focus on your own personal growth and development. Work on your spiritual growth as well. Because believe me, you're going to need God. And more than a passerby, which is, hey, how's life? You're going to really need God to help you and to guide you and to make things open for you so that you don't go nuts. Which, if you haven't noticed, a lot of people are dying and an awful lot of people are losing their mental capacity, which means you're just going nuts. And if you are not guided and focused and directed, you will go nuts too. Yes, you will. After the alcohol, the drugs, everything. And you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And you can see yourself having absolutely nothing. That's enough to take people into another place. So I don't like to play with anybody's emotions or the things they've gone through, because we're walking a road that's never been written. But I will say to you in the days ahead, again, the focus is on you and your family, doing the things that will ensure that you will get yourself in a positive position, period. And for those of you that are landlords and own property, I'm going to say to you, you better treat your tenants well, because you could be in a property with no tenant and none forthcoming, or you could be in a property where you have a tenant, but they're not very kind and gentle to your stuff, and they tear it up. Or you could be in a situation where your house gets swooped out from under you. All kinds of things are happening. And that's why I've been so focused on what we need to do. And I've got some good news for you. I'll talk about it on a future show. But I am in the process of working on a practical answer for your situation to help you, and so that you can survive what is a difficult thing. My presentation today is one of hope. It's hope if you govern your affairs like you have hope. It is not hopeless. It can't be hopeless when an apple seed has a bunch of seeds, or a cucumber has a bunch of seeds, or everything out here that's growing has seeds, and seeds are life. Seeds give you hope. Your children are your seeds. Are you planting them to have hope and to do the things that show that they are growing and mature, and they're looking to you as an example? Are you doing that? Are you just talking? And a lot of people talk. But I look deeper than the conversation. I'm looking at your life story. And I'm not judging you, because I don't have to. Your life will judge you. So as adults, let's pull it together. And let's get off of the things that don't embellish and help us. I don't engage in much political anything unless I can see evidence that is helping me and my family. If not, I'm not going to be involved. Sorry. I got enough stuff to deal with Medicaid losing funding, and all these seniors in nursing homes not having any money and are going to get kicked out. And how are you going to deal with that when your grandma comes home? Yeah, that's real stuff. That's meaningful stuff. That's stuff worth picketing and a show up at the congressman's office. That stuff matters. All this other stuff, I don't really care. I really don't. And no, Putin's what he is. So's the Chinese president. These guys have always been there. They haven't had a personality fix. So, in closing on today's segment on tariffs and inflation, what you need to know, I think I've given you enough. Take care of yourself, and God bless you richly. Bye-bye.